What's up, everyone? Thanks for joining us again on another episode. Tonight, I'm here with Freddy. How you doing, man?
What's up, man? How you doing?
I'm doing good. It's good to be here. For any viewers, I hope that you like the new camera setup. This is the first one with it.
It's nice.
Yeah, so I hope you like that. It's trying to make it look good, you know? Look like... So just imagine you're watching this on Netflix. You know, maybe in 20 years you are.
For sure, sure.
So before every episode, what I like to do is I like to show a sample of someone's work, who they are, give you some context on what you're listening to, so the conversation can maybe mean a bit more to you and you can understand what we're talking about a bit more. So that's going to play here. If you either get straight to the talking interview part, that timestamp code is going to be at the bottom of the screen and also going to pop up here. I do the little snap thing. Oh, yeah. If you have any specific songs or clips or anything, some people like clips, that you'd like me to put in the front, I do like 10 to 20 second snips, just showing like some like who this is.
For sure, I'll send that over to you, right?
All right, bet. But if you don't have any specific ones, I can also just go through and pick out the stuff I like.
Okay. Sounds
all right,
good.
And we're back.
Hey.
So we had some good conversation before we started recording and everything. Found out we both ran track. But you're a 400 meter runner, so that means you are a much better athlete than me.
Man, I like the burn.
Yeah. So born and raised in Hawaii, on Oahu, right?
Sure.
Can you tell me a little bit about how long you've been making music and sort of what started all that?
Yeah. Growing up, I grew up, my mom's from LA and my dad's from Motown, and we always had music constantly playing, and me and my sister. So I have two siblings. I have a younger brother and a younger sister. But my younger sister, me and her would just be walking around the house while the music's playing and kind of just singing, like just singing along to the songs. Yeah. And we kind of just got comfortable doing that throughout the years. And I was still too shy to pop out and like sing in front of people. Yeah. But it started at a early age. And then like as school would go on, I would always have music in my head. Even when class was going on, I would be on my desk with the pencil, playing Grinding. You know that song Grinding? Like clips. It's like that iconic beat. It's like it's a beat that everybody like hears when they like think of like just like a beat. And I would just be like doing that constantly.
I probably know it and probably just can't think of it.
Yeah. It was like a old like for real beat, like back in like maybe like 2001, 2002. That's dating me. But it was
back in the time of black and white TVs and dinosaurs and shit.
Close. But yeah, it stuck with me, and I kind of intertwined that with like sports and stuff throughout the years. And so it's been my whole life I've been doing music to some level. And at this point it's like now it's full-fledged. I'm just doing music, so it's a blessing. I'm blessed. So.
Hell yeah. Also I'm tripping. Alexa, volume down 2. Volume up. Alexa, volume up 1. That would be good. Playing and you can't hear it.
Sometimes Alexa be I ain't trying to.
Yeah. Alexa, shuffle my relax playlist. I want it on, but I don't want it. All right. Yeah, it's tripping. But yeah, man. So when did around what age did you start? Like, you said you weren't at the point of performing in front of people. At what age did that kind of start?
After high school, so about like 17, 18. Cause like every time I try to pop out and sing, like my mom would want to put me or my dad would want to put me in the choir. And I was terrified by the choir because it was like, I like the like open mic vibes. Yeah. And the choir was like formal.
Yeah, that is.
And like really like, you know what I mean? I appreciate choir like things because then you learn like the technicals and like how to sing alongside other people.
Yeah.
but at that time I just wanted to like just vibe out on, you know what I mean, and just like
definitely.
sing. So yeah. Yeah.
So were you ever part of choir then, or you always escaped
In
it?
college, that just brought up a memory. In college, I was studying like music as an option, and one of the requirements was to do the choir thing and like be a part of or take the choir class. And so here's me from Oahu joining a choir in Nebraska, and so like that was very interesting. But it shout out to Chadron State. It was a good experience. I got to like we traveled to a couple places, and we did like a couple shows around that area, and it was cool. It was cool.
Yeah. So then that leads me to like, what type of work are you doing now?
So right now I so with music I do a lot of writing. I do a lot of I play a lot of gigs around town, around Waikiki throughout the week, and yeah, that's kind of like what I've been doing. But my focus has been like just writing music and building up experiences with like my own life. You know, I'm a father, I'm a dad of two, and a husband, and so it inspires me a lot to write. And so I write about that and different experiences I've had in my life. And so I'm blessed to be doing this, to be able to do it full time. And yeah, does that answer you? Yeah.
So you talk a couple times now, you've talked about writing, and more so than a lot of other artists who I speak to. So what does writing kind of mean to you? And I know a lot of artists like to punch in and don't really write their stuff much, and you said that you write for other people also. So can you talk to me a little bit about that?
So I've had the opportunity to be in a camp. Shout out to Hawaii Songwriting Festival and Hawaii Immersive. This experience kind of changed my life, and showed me the possibilities and my place and my worth in the music industry. And I went to this camp and I was able to write with 3 other people, and we wrote a song that made it all over, like sync. So it made it all over like Netflix and like so that kind of opened my eyes, you know, like to just, okay, if I'm out here stacking, you know what I mean, stacking songs and like, you know, doing it like that, you know, like I'll be at a place where I'll have a catalog for everything. You know, and I'm kind of all over the place. Like I like all the songs that you've been playing. That's my vibe. I'm big on church. I like a lot of worship music. I play a lot of worship music around the house, and I like Post Malone. I'm all over the place. I grew up in Hawaii. I love reggae music. I grew up in reggae. I was in reggae bands.
Oh wow.
Early on, and my next song is actually about to be reggae. I'm dropping it at the end of the month. It's called NFT. So I'm excited to show you that. I'm excited for that to come out. It's gonna be good. Wrote that with my boy Lapana Eriko. Excellent producer, one of the best in Hawaii. But yeah, it's kind of like what it you know, like with any career that relies solely on your and your willingness to clock in for yourself and show up, it's a lot of moments where you got to be okay with sitting in space at times, because sometimes it might not be moving. So this is what I believe is, I believe that it requires a lot of faith. And even when you don't see the outcome of like what your goals are, and like you don't see any progress toward the goal, you're still pushing. And that's what I believe is faith. And you know, like allowing yourself to go through those moments where nothing's happening and still being who you are. because it relates to life too. It's because you being who you are allows for people that need you to be who you are to them. It allows that space for them to connect and you serve your purpose.
Yeah.
And so like, yeah, I had a lot of that starting out. I had no gigs, and I went to school for computers and IT. I was studying to be a program manager, like a desk job, and I got a couple jobs here. When I came back from school, I went to school in Nebraska, and then when I graduated, I came back home, and I didn't like it, and it just, you know, that feeling where it's like a gut busting, like feeling like this is not what I feel like I'm brought to this earth to do. No. And I had a moment where it's like, okay, I'm gonna put in my 2 weeks. And then I put in my 2 weeks, and I showed up, and it even more so, like, and I was just like, I can't do the 2 weeks, and I had to just bounce, because that's how strongly I feel about like what I need to do. Yeah. And I feel like with anything in life that you're passionate about and that you have a dream for, it's got to be that kind of like call and response. You get that feeling in your soul and in your spirit that this is the direction that you're headed. You got to jump on it. Yeah. You know what I mean? Yeah, I know exactly what you mean. So yeah, I did that. I'm so grateful, because I was like, a couple of times I would think back like, oh, what if I just did that? I'm sure I could have did music still and did that, but who knows? You know what I mean? Yeah. Like, so yeah.
You were speaking my language. There's a million questions that keep popping up into my head. I'll just go with the first one that I had. So when you say that you feel like it's faith when you're working and it's not moving, but you're still working for it. Yeah. Faith for what? Like, when you say that, do you mean faith that you're going to get progress, to be like, what's that all for?
So I'm a Christian, and I believe, and it's scriptural, that faith is the substance of things hoped for and the evidence of things not seen. And what I believe is faith carry you where your understanding can't carry you. And we're believing, we believe in God, and we're believing something that we don't see. We see the evidence of it, like through, you know, like happenings and things happening, but like actually, you know, God sitting next to us as a person, we don't see that, but still pursuing that, even though people will say what they say, and you know what I mean, and it'll be like a whole thing, but just that allows you to walk into places where your understanding couldn't take you. Yeah. You know what I mean? And applying that to what I was saying earlier is I didn't have an understanding of music. My family, my parents didn't understand, they were hardworking people. My dad was a Marine. Yeah. You know, my mom did hair. You know, she did hair out of our house. And shout out to Kipapa. That's the place I'm from. And you know, like, there was not any real examples for how to do that. Yeah. How to be an artist. You know what I mean? All it is like, okay, you know what I mean? Like, that means you're not working. Yeah. Like, how are you? That's the questions I was asked. Like, that's a job that you went to school for, you know, and it's good money. You know, are you sure about this? Faith is the yes, I'm sure. Yeah. And you know what I mean? And going and stepping out, you know, like we have this like story of like, you know, Peter jumping out, you know, like walking on water with Jesus, you know, like it physics defies that from happening, but you believing and you jump and you stepping out of the boat and you walking really puts it really, like, it's powerful, you know. And so I did that, and you know, I seen a lot of intangible things that happened out of me doing that, because I was able to have extra time to work on my craft. And a lot of this takes practice. Like, sometimes I'm able to say that, like, my voice when I first started wasn't what it is now. And I feel like the practice I did and taking advice from people and honing in on my craft and stuff like that, I'm able to be in a place where I can show up to a wedding and play at a wedding, and it's exactly what it is. I can show up to a gig in Waikiki and it's exactly what it needs to be. You know what I mean? That takes preparation, that takes practice. And so I'm thankful, man. I'm so thankful, bro.
Hell yeah. So your stepping off the boat moment, you said you put your 2 weeks in and then you felt it, and you couldn't even do that rest of that. When what time frame did that happen?
A year was 2017.
Okay.
And I was depressed working that job, bro. I was like, man, I couldn't listen to music. I couldn't do it. You know, when it's like 8 hours, you gotta be thinking about what the job requires for 8 hours. 8 hours in a daytime is a lot.
It is.
Because the other 8 you would be sleeping, and the other 8 is, you know what I mean, what you're left with. You know, willing that you're able to spend all 8 on music, which is certainly like probably not the case.
Definitely.
You know what I mean? And that took its toll on me. You know, like, I was in a relationship back at that time, and it was a long distance relationship, and that didn't work out, and I was like, in my feelings, you know what I mean? And I didn't know what to do next. And deep in my heart, I knew that this was not for me, and I had to act on it immediately. And I had to step out of that boat. And when I did that, when I say immediately, the next thing that I needed to do was right there. And I met my booking agent. I met people that shout out to Gate Key. I met a lot of people that believed in me and what my potential would be, and I created a way to be able to do music and just be able to have the time to work on my craft and the really important stuff. So
Interesting.
So
from my perspective of, in October I'm gonna be taking that step and I'm gonna be doing this full time, what advice do you have for me?
Man, I have advice, but more so I want to congratulate you, because not only was this season in your life beneficial, like serving our country, which I appreciate you serving. You know, my dad was a Marine, like I said, and that's a very special place in my heart, like the Marines and all of that. And you serve your country, bro. You know what I mean? And most, you know, you wouldn't, because you're in Hawaii right now, you know, and you're enjoying the island life, but it's a sacrifice, bro. You're leaving your family, you're up and going to an unknown place, and you are a part of the unit, you know what I mean? And for, you know, the amount of time that you've been in, and that's deserves praise. And I appreciate you for that. And the advice I say is just keep trusting what's in here, because people don't know what your destiny is. You know what I mean? The destiny is here. You know what I mean? Like, and honestly, I can tell you what you're supposed to be doing just by watching your previous videos and being very interested, and I'm like, man, this guy has been doing this for years. I didn't even know you were in the Marines till we walked in there. You know what I mean? Like, I felt like you've been doing this. You know what I mean? And you've been doing this, but now you're walking into what's next for Chase. You know what I mean? And that I'm excited for, and I'll be following you and
thank you,
and following your journey, and I'm excited because that is not a easy, especially like it's just not an easy thing to leave stability, and a lot of times it's being unstable is what causes you to be in that place where you start figuring out who you really are and start figuring out what it is how you're gonna be doing it, because the how is almost as important as the what. Just like with like things that how you do this that's different from everybody else could be the thing that makes you stand out. You know what I mean? And that I'm excited for.
That how is what worries me. That's why I've like I've had conversations with my fiance about it, of like what it's gonna be like, because the money's gonna go down for sure. As I take that leap, it's gonna take a while before that money get back up good. And like the main things are to keep her in school. She's studying to be an optometrist right now. That, and then like while I pursue this, neither of us want to give up on our dreams or let the other person, so it's just figuring that out. It's gonna be a lot of,
man, that's such a beautiful thing though. Like that's such a beautiful thing. Two people align with each other and they're just grinding it out. It's not gonna be perfect. It's not gonna be a box of roses, and it's gonna be tough because you're both going on a journey together to be who you are. And just that alone is beautiful. You know what I mean? And dude, congratulations.
Thank you, bro. I appreciate
that's
that.
freedom, and freedom is, you could do a lot with freedom, bro. You can do a lot with freedom. It's painful at times, and there's a lot of what ifs. But the what ifs, as long as you know who, like, as long as you hone into who you are and why you do it, you know what I mean? Like, this is establishing connection, I just met you and we're like establishing a connection right now, you know what I mean? And being able to be in a place, faith, like being able to be in a place where you don't know, you only got one piece of the puzzle and you're just putting pieces on that board, you know what I mean? Okay, I met with this person, boom, that's one piece. You know what I mean? But I don't know what that means. I don't know what this person can do for me, but I met with this person and it felt right. So that's that piece. And then you start, you know what I mean? And then they start clumping together, and then you get 5 pieces at once, and then you get a whole bunch of ones at a time, and it's slow and then it's fast. It's there's beauty in there. That's the art, man. Like the journey.
You're able to phrase that really well. That you said it a few times now. I forget what the exact word you used earlier was, but one, faith, and then not knowing what the next step is, but just trusting, and not knowing how it's going to work, not knowing the how. And like I said, the collecting puzzle pieces, you only get one at a time, can't see the whole picture, but it grows and starts to show some. I get that heavy.
I because the world will tell you to rely on facts with your decision making and where you go, but what we're doing right now, what you're going to be doing, is defying facts, because the fact is, like, you know what I mean, like, facts are going to come at you like, this doesn't make sense. Why are you doing this? Exactly. It doesn't make sense because it hasn't been done yet for me. You know what I mean? It hasn't been done yet for you. So it's like, man, I want to just, I love starting things. Like, I was a part of starting this church. I'm a part of a new church called the House Established. And we've been together for 2 years. 2 years now, and just seeing things happen from the beginning, and I didn't even know I was starting a church, I didn't know
Yeah.
I was going to be a part of that process. I also didn't feel worthy because I wasn't doing any church things for 3 years, bro. And I was just kind of like in my bag and like just, you know, like doing things for myself and my family. And I the way it worked out is I met my pastor, John Termini, in a place where I was kind of searching for something and a little something extra, and
Yeah.
I wanted to start a nonprofit for mental health,
Mm-hmm.
because I had a lot of friends, and then this was really like something that's been, like, was really something that is pressing on me. And you know, like, being with all of that, it comes with a lot of with a price, because you give everything out of yourself, and you know, sometimes it doesn't get reciprocated. And
You mean with like starting something new?
yeah, or with being an artist.
Oh,
Like,
yeah.
with being an artist, putting yourself out there, giving everything on a platter.
Yeah.
And you know, like, I've had friends that, you know, like, ended their life, that were artists and musicians, and I wanted to create a platform that gave people the tools that they needed to figure things out, you know what I mean, and to find their way back to their, like, their truest self. And with saying that, like, I met my pastor, and his wife is a neuropsychologist.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, right? That's pretty specific, right?
Yeah, it is.
And in my mind, I'm like, no way. And to me, that was like a sign.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that this is something that I need to be a part of. And I've been so blessed in these past years, bro. These past 2 years has been a blessing.
Yeah. So what's the nonprofit called, or did that become the church?
So I wanted to. It hasn't really happened yet. I know it will happen.
Yeah.
But I wanted to call it. I don't care if I say it on, but 12 noon, because I wrote a song called. So I'm a part of a band called 12 Noon and Midnight.
Yeah.
And it's me and this guy, Gabriel Miller. I grew up with this guy, and we were kind of going through some low parts of our life together. And we have this song called Green Zone that's out, and it talks about like how, you know, a lot of well, the green stone is a stone that you find in New Zealand. And you know how, like, with diamonds, you pick it and you break it, and you got diamond cutters and stuff like that. But greenstone is like, if it's formed by the rivers, and the rivers kind of like erode it and make it into like the stone that it is. And that's kind of like how it is for life. Like, you go through a lot of things that press you into who you are. You know, like you have seasons in your life where you're this, and that translates to who you are now. And so and then I also wrote a song called the song that really set that for me was it's called 2:30. So I wrote that song in obviously 2:30, but it was just talking about like how like the feelings that you feel when you're kind of like down in the dumps, you know what I mean? Like, you feel cold, you feel isolated, you feel not yourself, and that there's hope through that situation. You know what I mean? And even when you feel like there's no way out, there's a way through it. And so like that was a big thing that was on my heart, and just how everything intertwined with that. But yeah.
Hell yeah, man.
Yeah.
That's dope.
Yeah. It's deep. It's deep. Yeah.
So where do you think you're gonna be in like 5 years, or where do you want to be?
5 years.
Ignore 5 years. In the future.
Yeah,
because I'm guessing you
future.
probably have a goal or something in your mind.
Yeah. I love what I'm doing, and I love the pace that I'm at, and I love what I'm currently like, what I've been currently doing. And I just want to continue to do that. I want to continue to be a good husband. I want to continue to be a good father as my kids, you know, in 5 years, my daughter is going to be 8. Oh man, yo, that's going to be wild.
Yeah.
8, and having an 8-year-old, you know, like I want to be the best father to that 8-year-old.
Yeah.
And then I have a son. My son, he's 2 right now. He's good fun. He's gonna be 7. Wow. That's crazy. He's gonna be 7 in 5 years. That blows my mind.
Yeah. Because
what they're at right now, then in 5 years they're not gonna be that. They're gonna be way different. Yeah. 5 years at that point. Yeah.
They're gonna look back at this when they're like 15 or 20, and they'll be like, "Damn, look at Dad,
for real. Damn, he old." You know what I'm saying? Like, for real. Like,
yeah. So then, talking about your kids and everything, obviously that is probably, I wouldn't know. I'm not a parent. Yeah. But you know, whenever you think of like what matters most,
do you want kids?
Yeah. We want kids down the road.
Down the road.
Yeah, we want them. Yeah. Closer to like 29. Around 28 to 30.
That's exactly where I had my first kid.
Yeah, that's around when I have them.
Yeah. It was
probably just like 2.
It was it was COVID babies. Yeah. Yeah. We was after it. You know what I'm talking about? Yeah. But yeah.
Well, so that leads me to the question though. What are the most important things to you in life?
Yeah. I look at it like this, like God is at the top, my family, and then me. Mm-hmm. And so God, if I maintain the relationship with God that I have, everything else will follow. And it has been. Mm-hmm. And my family, if things line up, if the things that I'm doing, my career lines up with or it benefits my family, then it's a good thing. Obviously my career provides. Yeah. And you know, like me, if I take care of myself, my mind, my body, jiu-jitsu, my spirit, you know what I mean? Like I am able to take care of things. I'm able to be in a place where I, you know, can rely on God, you know what I mean? And rely and really push to be the best husband, be the best dad. So like that's kind of like where it is, and music falls under that because, you know, music is therapeutic for me. Like being able to write a song and like finish it and like be able, like, that is very therapeutic for me. And music to me reflects, you know what I mean, my relationship with God, you know what I mean, whether, because I write secular music. I don't write worship music. Mm-hmm. I am gonna write worship music, but some people would say that it's indirect worship because, you know, I write a lot of songs about my wife and my kids, and this song. So I have this hat. It's called Bloom. Yeah. I wrote this song about my wife, and just, you know, like so the song starts off with like talking about sleeping grass. You ever seen sleeping grass where you touch it? Oh yeah, and then it kind of folds in.
Oh yeah, like, it folds in. I was thinking to the opposite. Yeah, the stuff that was in Jurassic Park.
Yeah. You know, like when things happen in life, you know, like events that, you know, tough struggles in your life, you know, like you develop a defense to it. And, you know, like my wife, just seeing my wife thrive and be a mom, it just shows, like, it shows how you know, like, she was meant to do this. You know, she was meant to be a mom, and man, dude, when that happens for you, you're gonna be like, you'll be looking at your wife and you'll be like, damn, you fine. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's like
Yeah.
like being at gigs, like when I'm at gigs, like I'm ready to come home because I like in my mind I'm like, dang, my wife is at home with my kids.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? While I'm out here, you know, just singing, you know, and people are like kind of like praising me, you know, for being amazing singer or whatever. And you know, like I'm just grateful that my wife's, you know, my wife is taking care of my kids. Like I have a lot going on for me, you know, just constantly reminding myself that, like, and you know, like it's a good thing, man, having that person, bro, that rides with you, you know. So,
yeah,
for sure.
Damn. Yeah, that's powerful.
Yeah, gotta have that ride or die.
Yeah.
Ride or die.
So what would you say do you think are your most important values then?
Yeah.
So I asked I'll clarify the difference between like asking what's most important in your life.
Yeah.
And then what do you feel like the most important values for someone to hold are? In term
that's just
trying to clarify values, what I mean by that, rather than what's most important to you.
Yeah.
I guess I don't know. Do you have anything that pops in your mind when I ask that?
That's a good one.
Because values are kind of, I feel like that kind of puts more of an emphasis on traits, personalities, choices, rather than
traits.
Yeah, almost more like decisions.
You know what I value? This is not the only thing that I value. I value joy.
Yeah.
I value joy. People that know me know that I'm like a happy-go-lucky person.
Yeah.
And some may say that I avoid conflict. But I really value joy, bro.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I value, because there's a lot of things that you could stress out in life about, low key, like, you know what I mean? Like, you could stress out about like
everything.
Coffee, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, this coffee ain't hidden like how it's supposed to, or you know what I mean? Like, there's so many things that you could stress out of life, you know what I mean? Like, doesn't mean that you don't work and you know what I mean, you take care of the things that you need to take care of, but like having joy and knowing like, man, like I'm alive, like, being able to like fall back on that, like when you get stressed, like or like, because a lot of people are like, when you scroll on Instagram, somebody's coming at somebody, like, you know what I mean? Like, somebody's coming at, or an idea, somebody's coming at it. Yeah. And, you know, everybody's got something to say about somebody. But, like, those people that is not really worried about, you know what I mean? That just loves on people and is not worried about, like, oh, man, she said this, or he believes this, or, you know what I mean? Like, I pride myself in that, and I pride myself in just loving on people and love, you know what I mean, and just, you know, having joy. How about you?
I mean, what you're saying right now is, it's hard for me to give one answer, because I feel like all of the kind of skills and traits that you need to practice in order to like achieve your goals and learn to be present and in the moment, I feel like they all relate in terms of making yourself a whole, all-encompassing, like, healthy person. When it comes to your career, when it comes to physical health, when it comes to mental health, spiritual health, especially when you talk about joy, you know. I feel like joy really relates to having something, you're like a goal or a purpose. I feel like having a purpose is something that I never wanted to get rid of when I was a kid, you know? And I always wanted to make sure I wasn't working, ended up a 9 to 5 where I didn't have a purpose or anything, you know? And I feel like when you do have a purpose that leads you to, like we've been talking about, leads you to jumps and stepping out on the waters. And even I feel like that relates to everything, like having joy. You can't maintain the level of, at least for me, I know I would not be able to, and have not in the past been able to maintain the level of work and consistency and creativity and ingenuity that I've needed to make the leaps to get where I am. I wouldn't be able to maintain those if I wasn't able to look at setbacks and failures, because Lord knows you're going to fail time after time. I feel like I wouldn't be able to keep doing that if I didn't force myself to adopt a mindset of happiness even when I'm confused and I'm lost and I'm scared, you know, because it's like, it goes back to not having the answers, you know, like, can you learn to be happy when you walk towards something you know you want, and all you get is a little puzzle piece that doesn't even fit the puzzle you have, you know? And then I don't know, but I can't really take credit because I love what I do, and I have, over time, I've gotten a lot more external motivators as I've kept doing it, and that is, you got to be grateful for those, you know, because internal motivators, that's what you need, especially to start something, because there's no proof of concept.
You got to wake up in the morning and be like, oh, every morning when you're an artist, every morning it's like, you know what I mean? Yeah, you have your schedule and your stuff that you write on the thing. But really, every morning is like, what do I do? You know what I mean? It is like, even though you have a schedule, like people will say like, I have all of these things lined up, but it's like your first thought is like, you know, because like when you're clocking in, it's like, okay, I just gotta clock in.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? It's like, but it's like, you know, if you wake up and just decide not to do that thing, that could totally alter you. You know what I mean? Like when you're an artist. So it's like, but I love what you said, man. Like, and I can even point, just I don't know you that long, but I can point out a few things. Is like, you know, like you deciding to be a Marine. You decided to be a Marine because you could have joined the Army. You could have joined I'm not clowning on any branch whatsoever, but you know, like the Marines is the few and the proud. You know what I mean? And you chose that, like that, and moving to Hawaii and being in how many people in your area that you're from is living in Hawaii? You know what I mean? Like that's a lot of things that have like that you should have joy about, because these are good circumstances, bro.
Yeah, they are.
Like, and even after, you know, when you get out of the Marines, you never really get out. You always have that alpha, like that superior like energy, man. Like my dad, that's what I love about my dad. Like my dad still to this day, he has that, like he still wears the emblem on his.
Was he in for, did he do full 20?
He did 4.
Oh yeah,
because he wanted to. My dad's from Detroit. My dad's from 7 Mile Road, so he's from the hood. He didn't want to go back over there, so he wanted to raise his kids here in Hawaii.
Oh really? So, yeah, you said you lived here. Your whole life. That's so, right. That's awesome.
You know, so he wanted to create a life here, so he got out. And
and he stayed here. He was stationed here.
Yeah, he was stationed in K-Bay. So,
that's crazy to stay here then. That's because that's difficult.
So he got out. He was a truck driver when he got out, you know, and you know he did what he had to do for us. He did what he had to do, and he got out before we were born. But he got out because he wanted to stay here and raise a family and do life here. And he did everything from that moment on. He did everything that he could to, you know, give us the best opportunity here. And bro, I really enjoyed my childhood here. I learned a lot. I learned a lot from people here. You learn a lot. You learn a lot about culture here. And yeah, I'm blessed to be from Hawaii. It's a special place. We don't deal with a lot of other things that like people deal with in other areas, and we understand family in a way of like, you know, you can pop up in auntie's house and auntie get, you know what I mean, rice on the rice cooker, you know what I mean, like, you know, and like some Portuguese sausage maybe, you know what I mean. Sounds good right now. But yeah.
So your dad moving out of Detroit, was it straight out of high school he joined the Marines?
Yeah, straight out.
Straight out of high school, leaves Detroit, stationed here, and then he stayed here. Like, he didn't go back. He stayed here.
He stayed here, man.
So that's some like mover and shaker, groundbreaker shit.
So he was a part of Charlie Company 1-3, and he got out. He didn't even know that. I mean, obviously you don't know when war happens, but he got out a year before the Gulf War. Oh yeah. And that's dating me because he got married and then he had kids like around that time. So, yeah, but his whole, like, I'm pretty sure like a lot of his company was in that war, and a lot of them didn't make it. You know what I mean? Like, a lot of his the people that he was in with didn't make it, and you know, like, it's just all about like decisions you make that, you know what I mean, regardless, he would have served his country, you know what I mean, but then like I wouldn't be here, you know. So it's like you got to follow what your heart is telling you. You got to follow what your gut is saying, and you know, your spirit is saying, and so
well, the reason I say that is because so me, I've been in for I have a 5-year contract, so I'm about to get out in October, and like the idea of staying here and just building a life here, especially like for my future family, like that's terrifying with how expensive it is. So that's no joke what he did, and I say that because I see like the same you said that you took that leap of faith and you stepped out onto the water like that. So it's like I see just in this very brief meeting of you, I can see sort of, I'm not surprised that like to hear that he did something like that, like what you're doing, carrying on the legacy. How do you feel like, what type of stuff do you think that affected you? I guess it's just a question of like, what do you think you were taught?
I went to where he came from, bro. And my mom's from South Central LA. My mom's from Crenshaw. So like Nipsey Hussle, like that area. My dad, when I went to so I grew up going to my grandma's house in LA and like seeing, like I would go there in like around the time of Tupac, you know what I mean, like, and like it was happening out there. Things was really like going off. But then I went to Detroit like maybe six years ago. I went to where he was, and like I seen like the disparity. It was like night and day, bro. And just seeing, and we went, the memory that sticks out to me to this day of like going, we went to his grandma's house, and we drove up, and we kept driving back and forth because he didn't know where it was, but he knew where it was, and we were in the right place. But it was just the fact that his grandma's house was like covered in grass grew over his house, and just seeing the utter like the coldness in his face of like what happened, and like no one told him like about like that was happening to his grandma's house, and like that's just like the situation, you know what I mean. And I'm just blessed to, you know, not be in that situation with him, you know, like but yeah, like a lot of sacrifices was made for me to be who I am, you know what I mean. And I'm just thankful, bro. I'm thankful.
What are you most grateful for them from them to them having taught you?
Just loving people, man. Loving people. That's the biggest thing I get from my parents is they really loved us. They put their best foot out for us, and yeah, they did. They were willing to do anything for us.
Yeah.
And I knew that that was out of love. And you know, like I made a lot of mistakes in my life as an adult, and just seeing them still love me for that. Like, man, I was depressed. I crashed my car, you know, got DUI.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like that, like those kind of things, man. And like my mom, like, just kind of like still loved me, and like, you know, like still like held me and said, this is not who you are. This is those things. And the crazy thing was, all of that was happening before I got to that place where I'm like, okay, I see where my life's headed. Like, if I'm not just free and being who I am, this is kind of like the dead end. You know what I mean? Like, if I don't make a change and I don't like flip things around, and you got to have those people around you that tell you who you really are, and that show you who you really are.
Yeah.
Because they'll remind you when things happen and it throws you off course, they'll be able to remind you and say like, oh, this is not who you are.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? This is who you are. And then you're like, oh, yeah. And it's a tough road. And, you know, like looking back and seeing where I'm at now, I'm like, dang, that actually happened to me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like these things that could have like, you know, could have like totally ended my life, you know what I mean? Or thrown me off course. Like this is, I am who I am because of the people that poured out into my life. So yeah.
When you say that you need those people who can tell you like what's up, who specifically would, like, who do you feel like that was for you?
My mom, the Power Four, my friends, Gabe, Taz, and Elijah, and my wife. My wife tells me who I am a lot.
Yeah.
She always reminding me, and I love her. But yeah, those are the people, man. Like people that you could tell them bad news and they still stick around. You know what I mean? Like, or they could tell you bad news and you still sticking around. You know what I mean? Like, those are people. Yeah.
Not too many of them.
Yeah, bro. Like we look on Instagram, and we look on these like platforms, and we see people turning on each other.
Yeah.
Like, for the lightest things.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, and some things do require them to, all right, I'm out.
Yeah.
Some things you'll look and be like, oh, snap. That happened. Yeah.
Yeah.
Did that. That's good. But yeah. Yeah, man. Like, those are the people. Those are the people that, and then, yeah. My kids. Yeah.
All right, I'm going to change the batteries real quick. And we're back.
Hey.
Paused it. Reset the batteries and everything.
Yep.
So the question I had before we went to the break was, you've mentioned it a couple times now. Mm-hmm. You've talked about loving people.
Yeah.
So how does loving people fit into the life of somebody who's trying to pursue freedom, like career freedom, and pursue what they love?
Man, I feel like the biggest part of life is just keeping your cool, and you know how they used to say, keep calm and press on. Like when you have a love, you're able to see those things, see the best out of people instead of always picking out what's the worst in people. I mean, still being that person where they can rely on you for advice, but at the same time, like being that person that, you know, you're just going, you're not fazed by the little things. And I feel like that's a big trait to have, because you won't get thrown off by like the littlest things or the biggest things. You still pursue. I don't know if that answers, but yeah, that's what I don't worry. And I even though like I do worry, I don't, if that makes sense. Like, yeah, I don't really know for a fact like what's gonna happen, but I am just cool with the process, you know.
Yeah.
Like even with jiu-jitsu, it's like jiu-jitsu is like you don't know anything, you get beat up by everybody in the moves, and you just got to be okay with that for a while, and then you start learning one thing, and then the people around you get used to their movements.
Yeah.
And so you kind of figure out what they like to do, and so you don't do what they want you to do.
Yeah.
And then it kind of just becomes that game, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know if that translates to what I said, but just like going with the flow, you know.
Yeah. Did you have to learn how to be the type of person who just like doesn't worry and is able to experience life as you go through and trust the process and have faith?
I think it came from my parents, to be honest.
Yeah.
Because my parents, we didn't have a lot of money growing up, but they weren't worried. Like, you know, like we would lose cars, like, you know, and our like cars would get repossessed. Like, we got one car, like we'd just go and drop my dad off in the morning.
Yeah.
And then, you know, like, and then we'll just go, you know, like my mom would drop us off to school, and then
Yeah.
it was cool. Like, we didn't, you know what I mean? We're like just on to the next thing. Like, just what do we have that's, you know, like we can be happy about, and
Yeah.
like, and still push on, you know. I to this day, that's like kind of been my mindset. And I noticed that I would go through, you know, stints. Yeah, I'm not getting gigs or like, you know, leads aren't coming in.
Yeah.
And then, perfect example, the last 2 years, like it would, for what I do, it was slower 2 years. But like this year, like, you know, like things have just been like within the first 2 months, I'm like, oh, this is different. And still just keeping my head on my shoulders and, you know, like, you know, being able to just still keep that level-headed mindset.
Yeah.
Because you got to be humble in the lows and humble in the highs, because it keeps you kind of like, okay, job's not finished, like Kobe kind of thing. Like, you know, like I got to sing backgrounds for Tori Kelly a couple weeks ago.
Damn.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
And then before that, me and Juju did the Trey Songs.
Oh yeah.
For the New Year's thing.
That's dope.
Like Trey Songs is like, for R&B is like a big deal. You know what I mean? And I used to like, man, like why is this stuff, like trying hard, you know what I mean? And kind of like it just happened when it happened, and it kind of just fell into place. And just knowing like those things is gonna fall into place.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? As long as you're just taking care of yourself, taking care of the things that God is giving you, and taking care of like the things in your life that are important to you, you know, like and being appreciative of what you do have. Like, time flies in that moment, and you just end up, you know, being okay with where you're at and just going through that process.
Yeah.
You're doing the things, you know, you might be learning a new program, you know what I mean? And as you're doing what you're already doing, and you start, oh, this works for this. Okay, maybe I'll just use that for that. And then, you know, somebody calls you up and is like, look, we need this.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, and you just so happen to be working in, you know what I mean, in that, and that lines you up. Okay, we need you. Can you do this? Can you come here? You know, like, that's our industry, bro. Yeah. Like, you got to be able to be in those rooms, like how I said earlier. I got that actually from my pastor, that term. I'm a professional alley hooper, and just like setting people, you got to learn how to set people up for wins. You know what I mean? When you set when you set people up for wins, you become that person that people benefit from your like you being around them. Yeah. And that always comes about. Not even materialistically, they benefit from you. You see the returns in that over a course of time, but even so, like, just when you're able to be in a room and you're able to like add to something, like me, like talking to you is good for me too, because you know what I mean, like I'm learning someone else's perspective on something, and two, I'm able to like speak out things that I might not necessarily. I'm an introvert, so I'm like, I come in waves, you know what I mean? And like, it's crazy to think I'm an introvert because I sing in front of a lot of people all the time, but like I do spend a lot of time just like kind of like just by myself, like
that's how you like
re-energize. And so like, you know, that it's good to get things out and like and like, oh, why was this? Oh, that's a good question. And then it just kind of like reiterates. So like
so from my perspective, like with what I do, and then also broadly for anybody else who might be wondering, what does it mean to kind of like bring value to people? And you said, I forget how exactly you phrased it, but how do you do that? Say somebody who's watching this, like, or me, like, what does that mean to you, bringing value to people and making sure you're helping them and
having because we're in this like in our era of living, I don't know if that's the word, but we point out people's flaws constantly. And it, you know, oh yeah, you believe this, you know, like, or you no, that's not how you're supposed to do it, you know, like that's kind of been like a lot of what you see like out there in what we see. And like becoming the person that's like, all right, like you're moved by like encouraging people, and knowing when to be, you got to correct things, but knowing how to correct it in a way that encourage it, that leaves people with an encouraged feeling. And that does a lot when you're able to honor people, when you're able to encourage people. Man, like it really it does good for you, because you are if you're an encourager and you're encouraging the people around you, you're, especially from a leadership perspective, like you know how to encourage people into doing what they need to do. Obviously it's not all that you have to actually tell them to do what they need to do, but being able to let your encouragement and you pouring into them, that creates that place where they feel not validated, but they feel encouraged to, you know what I mean, like to go forward with it, you know, even though it might be a difficult thing. I don't know if that
that's great. For me, for in my shoes, so so I do this and I work with like lots of artists, I interview lots of people in different ways, I work with people, and then I want to keep building it to where I have I want to make this into a media production company, you know, this and then everything else I do with media. So one of my dreams is I want to be able to grow it to where I can have teams helping me with projects so we can work together. So with that, in the future, having like working with a team and leading a team, and then now as I'm interacting with artists, how can I foster and like learn and improve on my ability to encourage while encourage and like be supportive while encouraging and fostering growth. So I'm not just giving fake like platitudes like, you're doing great, man. How can someone practice that? Like, how could I practice that?
That's a good question.
Because it's one of those things where like I can know it's good, but then I don't really know where to go with that, you know?
A lot of encouragement, a lot of that spirit of encouragement comes from things, not just you actually encouraging them, but walking in it. like that's a thing that we say a lot in churches, like you walking in something. I'm walking in love. I'm walking in joy. I'm walking in encouragement.
Yeah.
I'm walking in this, you know what I mean? Like it's what you're choosing to walk with. And if you walk with that spirit, you might not necessarily be encouraging them. Oh, you might not be encouraging them. Encouraging them. But if you're walking in that spirit of it, when you have to say the difficult things, the fact that you've been walking in that and it's coming from inside, the way that you say it will be in a way that they feel loved and they feel appreciated, even though you're telling them like you got to do this, you know, but your actions and how you chose to be a leader reflects. If it reflects an encouraging spirit, even if you tell them bad news or you tell them something hard that might be a kick in you know, kick in the ass, you know, they will see that, and then they'll want to honor you. They'll want to, you know, do this for you. It's like having a coach. Or you look at I'm a Raiders fan, Antonio Pierce. You know, they had a coach that they brought in for numbers, and you know, like, oh, he did all this at Patriots. You know what I mean? Like he did all of these great things. Yeah. You know, like, why are we? You know what I mean? Why is things not clicking? It's because, you know, like he didn't have the locker room. You know what I mean? And I feel like this is kind of like going in a different direction, but I feel like your team and the people, your group, Chase's group, Freddy's group is a locker room. You know what I mean? Yeah. And you know, if you're just like shouting out things, it's good to be to the point though. It's good to be to the point. But like if the spirit of your group and your team is, you know, like rooted in these good things like love and you know, like there's a lot of things that people would do for you that they wouldn't do just for anyone. And it comes out of like the insides kind of things. And I feel that way here. I feel that way like when I watched your interview with my boy Juju, like I felt encouraged. I felt like I learned something. I felt more understanding. And a lot of it had to do with Juju is an amazing artist, an amazing intellectual artist.
Yeah, great businessman, everything.
Great businessman and everything. Like, you know, like a lot of it had to do with you and like what you're doing and how you're doing it. The little details of how you're doing it matters. And you're going to be, I speak this over your life, you're going to be in bigger rooms. It's going to happen. You know, you're going to be in charge of, and I'm sure you've been in those kind of atmospheres with what you already do. So that's prepared you to do it in the way that you know how, and that fits you. Yeah. And just knowing that you have to get to that place where you can tell people to do the things that you're doing, and it be to the level of of who you are and what your team stands for. Yeah. And dude, I feel like I know your dreams is what you set yourself out to do. I know it's gonna happen just because of I believe in what you're doing just based off of what I've been seeing, and I know that you got something special. And that's the most important thing, because nobody wants what everybody else is doing. You know what I mean? It's not what everybody else is doing. It's just how people are doing it. Because then you're hitting different people. Like, because me and you, we have things in common actually, but we might not have a lot of things in common. Yeah. But I get it. You know what I mean? I get how you're doing it and where you're coming from, and it's interesting, and that's a connection. You know what I mean? And we're just creating connections. Whenever I sing a song and I write a song, I know that people aren't going to connect with it, and people are going to connect with it. But my job is to just take something that I've experienced in my life, or create create scenarios from an artistic perspective of things that I believe and things that I've felt, and putting it out there so that it's out there in a way that when people are going down the list searching for something, they click on that. Yeah. And it takes them right to that feeling, takes them right to that expectation, takes them right to that idea, takes them to that frame of mind that they need. You know, relaxing playlist. I want to be relaxed. Yeah. So I have a relaxing, you know what I mean? It's like that's it.
Yeah. I really like how you're talking about when I asked how to be the leader who can encourage people and help them improve and guide them, do all those together. I really like how the big thing you focused on is, correct me if I say anything and you would adjust what I'm saying, but of how you kind of embody what you are trying to get across to yourself. And I feel like that's something I have always held for the work I do, especially when it comes to this podcast in these interviews with artists, is to always make sure I don't compromise with the kind of values I want it to hold of being authentic and be able to give real image across. And I always, you know, it was weird. I feel like a lot of people think this way. When you look at success and you look at authenticity, I always viewed it as, in order to have one, you had to give up the other. Like, you know how people say, like, if an artist is doing really well or making a lot of money, then like they sold their soul to the devil, or they offer, like, you can't like make money and be a good person or something like that. And so I always was kind of worried that I was like, well, fuck, if I pursue this, am I gonna have to give up, like, give up who I am at some point? You know, am I gonna have to turn it for the dark? You know, and then like, it's been a fun journey. To have to and be able to like have the freedom, be able to recognize that, like, oh, what actually makes success. And sometimes it's hard for, I'll have buddies who I can't convey this to. People who I work with, that at the end of the day, all that matters is the value of what you, especially in a business sense. What matters is the value of what you can sell, whether it be the service or the product. And so many I've seen, and I've been there before and I've had to stop myself going down the road in different avenues of getting caught up with whatever, marketing, pitches, hooks, all that, where I can find myself falling down the slope of, at the end of the day, all that matters is I'm giving something to people that's of value to their lives and helping them improve in some way, making them, whether it can be calming them for the time they watch it, or whether it can be teaching them something. And I don't know, I'm yapping, I'm rambling.
No, hey man, the proof is in what you do, bro. Like what you are doing and where you. So this is the few things that I picked up on from what you're saying. You want to do weddings, big thing in people's lives. Like you that's a pretty detailed thing. It's like weddings. Like that's a specific energy, a specific event, a specific, you know what I mean, result. Like that is what some may say one of the biggest points of people's lives, and you want to be a part of that. It says a lot about who you are, you know. And that might be a deep way to look at something, because some people is like, oh, I'm just, you know, just shooting weddings, but that's kind of things that you're gravitated towards. And a quote that I live by is, you grow in the direction of your gaze. When you're honed in on things like that, like honed in on like seeing people at their biggest moments, like, you know, like you're a cultivator. That's what it tells me. You know, like, you meet with people, different kinds of artists, different kinds of people, and you talk to them and you bring it out of them. Like, you're a cultivator. And so taking that and doing that and then replicating that with different types of people, duh, that is the art.
It's super fun.
I
can't take any credit for it. I just got lucky with like where my passions kind of met to where it worked out perfectly. I was just
it's bro, it's no luck, man. You're destined to be where you're at now, and you're gonna be destined to be where you're at in the future. Just it's little details when you were growing up that made you who you are. To be able to be in a room with someone that has a totally different upbringing, you know, and you're still able to connect with them, or even caring to connect is the most valuable thing, is because you know what I mean. It's like sometimes it's something that might not interest you at first, but you being interested in the person, you end up getting blessed by something, because you know it you never know what someone's gonna say or what someone's gonna do. So it's like that's the beauty of it. For sure.
And that's one of the things that, like, about you that I noticed immediately. Was it's so hard to describe, especially because I'm not great with words. But the kind of like thoughtfulness in two senses of the word. One, thoughtfulness towards other people, and then thoughtfulness isn't the right word for the second. What's it? Introspective. You seem very introspective.
Definitely. Like,
it seems like you say what you want very intentionally. And I really respect that. But I
appreciate that.
Let's see.
Leaders are seers.
Leaders are seers. We can wrap it up though. 3 minutes left on that one. Man, I appreciate you so much for your time. So what I always like to do at the end is if you could say where all your socials are, on where somebody who can find you if they're driving or something.
You can find me at on Instagram at Freddy with a Y, FREDDY, LEONE _ at Instagram, and I'm on Spotify under that name, iTunes. I'm dropping a song at the end of the month, February 28th, song called NFT. Me and my boy Pana did that one, so it's gonna be a fun one.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
All right, and then finally, man, if you had a last thing to leave the audience with, what would you leave them with?
Be encouraged. Life is hard at points, but be encouraged through that. See the joy in things. See things. Really look at things and say, okay, yeah, this might be a bad situation, or I might be going through a struggle or something. But just really just go through it, and you will notice, if you're an encouraged person, you will notice that you're able to dust things off a lot easier, because we become a people that's very quick to offense and very quick to be offended by something. And when you're when you practice encouragement and you practice being an encourager, you're not as easily knocked down by those things. And so, just be encouraged. Let's go.
Well, Freddie, thank you so much for your time.
Appreciate you, Chase.
This was great.
Yeah.
Being able to steal all your knowledge.
Hey, same.
Yeah, man, for real, I appreciate it. If you made it this far, thank you. I hope that you enjoyed it and you're able to listen and learn from Freddie here, you know. Thank you so much for your support. If you're listening, I hope you liked the episode. Make sure you get water, be healthy, exercise, and everything.
Get your what is it, gallon a day? Is it a gallon a day?
Ooh,
I ain't even nowhere close by that.
Oh yeah,
man,
Who
like
is?
8 glasses or something like.
So-
that's like the bare minimum.
Yeah. So this is your reminder to get some water in, 'cause
Yeah.
you're probably not there. I'm not.
Stay thirsty? No.
All right. Thank you guys so much.
Pause.
We'll see you next time. Man, I appreciate you. That was awesome.
Yeah, I'm excited.